Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, oh. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, oh. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, oh. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, oh. Hari Om to everybody. Today it looks as if Papa wants us to dwell on something highly subjective. There was an email from a devotee asking us to share some thoughts about Nirvana Shakti. Many of you, or all of you, might have heard about it. It is a classic by Adi Shankara. And when it is set to a particular tune, and when we travel with the theme, it enables us to quieten the mind, dissociate ourselves with all the nobles, and make a sincere effort to know our original nature. The sloka says, Mano buddhi ahankara chittani na aham, na cha shrotra jihve, na cha grana netre, na cha vyoma bhumi, na tejo, na vayu, chitananda rupam shivoham shivoham. न च प्राणसंगान न देपम न मय पंचवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पंचकोशः न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपास्तवायु चिदानन्दरूपं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहो मदो नैव मेनैव मात्सर्यभावं न धर्मं न चार्थं न कामं न मोक्षं चिदानन्दरूपं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रं न तीर्थं न वेदं न यज्ञम् अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे मृत्युशङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मेनैव मातान्यजन्म न बन्धुः न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभुव्याप्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां सदा मे समत्वं न मुक्तिर्न बन्धः चिदानन्दरूपं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्. You must have heard about it, so we are not elaborating about it. Just we will go through the meaning. I am not the mind, the intellect, ego or thoughts. Nor am I the ear, tongue, nose, yes, eyes. Neither am I the space or the earth or light or air. I am pure knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. I am not the prana or the 5 vital layers or the 7 constituents of the body or the 5 sheaths, not the 5 organs of action in the body. I I am pure knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. I have neither hatred nor attachment. I have neither greed nor delusion. I have neither pride nor jealousy. Neither have a duty, target, desire or liberation. I am pure knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. I am not virtue or sin, neither comfort nor sorrow, nor am I the invocative words of the sacred one. Neither am I the Vedas or the sacrifices. I am neither the food, nor am I the one who eats the food, nor the enjoyer of the food. I am pure knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. I have no death or apprehension or discrimination of classes, nor do I have father, mother, or birth. Neither have I relations or friends or preceptor or disciple. I am pure knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. I am immutable, devoid of form, omnipresent on account of my all-pervasive nature. I am not even associated with the senses. I am not salvation, not the knowable. I am pure knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. For the past few days, we have been trying to identify everything as God. Here in one statement, Shankaracharya wanted all of us to not to identify with any of these externals. Is it a paradox? No. The first one, that within the path of bhakti, we find every creation as God. But at the same time, in the path of knowledge, we find only He is the one. Ultimately, when we realize, we know everything is a projection. That is what realize will say. So it is not contradictory to each other. We should be very clear about it. At the moment, as devotee or a sadhaka, what is preventing me from knowing Him is, I identify myself with the externals. Nothing wrong in identifying. Identifying the external with God is all right. Identifying the external as external will not help us in our spiritual journey. This we should be very careful so that there is no contradiction. Because God is, what is God's characteristic? It can't be explained. So what all we know about others, that is being taken out. So what remains is that. So apparently it may look, non-identification with the rest of the externals. But that will be there so long. That is why you all remember, Papa keeps on hammering. First we have to realize Him within and then without. First we should be concentrating on our sadhana to realize Him within. Then we may ask, why are we going through, I find Him everywhere. Our equipment is not yet ready to go in. So whenever it goes out, if it starts associating with God thought, God dimension, and then slowly it can turn back. And so when we chant Ram Nam to remember Him, qualitatively it becomes more better. So Nirvana Shadgam is not opposed to what we have been trying to understand through identification of God with others. We should be very clear. World as world is unreal. World as God is real. So here when we say all these things, they are all unreal. Nirvana Shadgam, composed by Adi Shankara, offers a method of introspective self-analysis by which we can eliminate all factors which are not the self and ultimately arrive at a realization of the pure self described in 6 stanzas. If one has to really draw benefit from this, intense inward journey is to be taken up with the chanting through reflection and contemplation. For example, the first line says, Mano Buddhi Ahankar, I am not the mind, intellect, etc. The moment we hear the word mind, we close our eyes, try to watch the antics of the mind. As you know, mind is nothing but thought flow. This process will slowly pave the way for the emergence of Sakshi Bhava, witness consciousness, watching our own thoughts. Even now when we chant Ram Nam with closed eyes, it will be experienced. Chanting is going on, it is being witnessed. Sakshi Bhava. Like this, if we ponder over deeply on every word of the sloka, it will surely help us not to identify ourselves with any of the conditionings listed in the sloka. In other words, Nirvana Shadgam helps us to develop non-identification with the not-self, sense of individuality encased in body, mind, intellect, etc. and simultaneously promotes to identify with the real self. So let us try to be a witness to our movements. For that we have to detach ourselves from them and become the observer of them. Then we are told, we will realize that we are the eternal witness and the body is not ourselves. Papa says, sit silent, detach yourself from the mind, watch its activities. The watcher is the real you, the self-immortal. This self is called Atman or Brahman or God or consciousness, indwelling and all-pervading reality, spirit, etc. In other words, the contents of the Nirvana Shadgam is an attempt to strip ourselves off everything that we are not and to realize what we really are. Virat Baba also has amplified this through the following words. When the false conventions and ostentatious observances are broken through, the soul is liberated. For realizing the truth, no external paraphernalia is necessary. No garb, no sign, no cult, no creed can help you. The day will come when you have to leave all these behind. That's what Nirvana Shadgam says. Manobuddhi ahankara chittani na aham. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. Auto-suggestion. The day will come when you have to leave all these behind and go to meet the eternal in the perfect nakedness of your spirit. The spirit had been clothed with all these things. So we are trying to remove one by one. And go to meet the eternal in the perfect nakedness of your spirit, shedding all make-believe forms, customs and traditions. Simplicity, spontaneity and humility become the guiding principles of your life. You move freely with all. You love all alike. You break all boundaries set by the calculating and selfish human mind. You soar like a free bird in the infinite expanse of the spiritual firmament. You look upon all beings and creatures as the embodiment of the one divine all-pervading spirit. Temples, ashrams, mosques, churches, synagogues, viharas cannot imprison your soul. You find your soul's delight and joy at all places, in the West as well as the West. So this is the reply we sent to the devotee. So today read the first draft of the vision for May and June. It was almost 9 decades ago, in October 1933, to be precise, that the first issue of the vision was published. At the time of launching this unique magazine, Virotpapa Swami Ramdas, in the brief foreword, clearly spelt out that his one purpose and aim would be to proclaim the eternal kinship and oneness of man with man, man with the universe, man with God. These are all Papa's own words in 1933. By his abundant grace, for the past 87 years, the vision has been striving to live up to this noble ideal. Considering the need to reduce the use of paper in the context of promoting ecologically sustainable practices, it is now keenly felt that the vision hereafter be published as a bi-monthly, once in 2 months, instead of monthly. This will also considerably ease the enormous paperwork and statutory obligations involved. Indeed, the number of pages will be increased to accommodate more content, the relevant views, and the eternally inspiring revelations of masters. This will come into effect from the current issue onwards. We request all readers to kindly accept this inevitable change regarding the vision and continue to patronize it as before. Deepest love and best wishes by the editor. So hereafter it will be from that means every 2 months we will have instruction. A lot of paperwork can be reduced, number one. Clerical work can be reduced. You might know that we cannot straight away post. 5 are to be separated depending upon the pin code, and when we give to the post office, when do they deliver, that also we have no idea. We made everything ready on 1st April. It could go only 3 days back. We still don't know where it is lying. So finally we thought we are also encouraging people to enlist themselves for e-versions. In that case there is no problem, because no clerical work will be there. We have to prepare and send it. So we pray to Papa, you induce everybody to have this e-version, so that all this clerical work, and when once you read it, many people used to ask us, what are we to do with the old copies? Sentimentally they don't want to throw it away. At the same time, where will they keep it? So considering all these things, it was decided that first we will reduce to 6 issues in a year. And let us see how Papa takes us on. So that is the introduction. And then poem. When the inner light, this month, he prompted us to concentrate upon the inner light, the one which we were now discussing. First we have to realize him within. This should not be lost sight of. So we have some idea, but it has to be grounded, concretized. So Papa has written a beautiful article entitled The Light of Lights. And he led us through so many shlokas, so many thoughts. He said we should become aware of the light, inner light. So the first poem itself says, when the inner light is lit and mingles with outer radiance, there is one consciousness supreme, permeating and enveloping all, as one mass of luminous substance splits into countless stars. So one truth, God, reveals himself in million forms, in million ways. Each part is whole, WHOLE. Each life is perfect, God indwelling, self-expressed. Editorial for this month. From the scripture and every scripture and every Mahatma keep on reminding us that the real quest in life is to know who we are in reality. Reflecting further, we understand we are not merely what we appear to be, a bundle of flesh, bones, blood, skin, nor a creature living and acting solely under the impulses and thoughts rising from the mind. Our soul is a spark of divine light. When we sit alone in a room with no light at midnight on a new moon day, do we need any light to know that we are sitting there? No. When we analyze as to how we are able to see ourselves, we realize when we analyze as to how we are able to see ourselves or be aware of ourselves, even in pitch darkness, we realize that it is purely because of the inner light or self-awareness or witness consciousness. It is a state of awareness of the immortal and radiant truth within us. It is the life force. This is the core of our being. It is by the power of this inner light that our life is activated in its manifold expressions. Reasoning, feeling, doing are all possible only because of the inner light within us. Otherwise, this machine, this body, will not function. If we dissect the body and try to locate the source of this inner light, we fail because even the search is made possible because of this inner light and therefore cannot be objectified. This issue of the vision carries various articles on the inner light. Quotations we will read later. The Light of Lights by Papa. When the heart becomes pure and is awakened to the consciousness of the divine, the entire human vehicle reflects His light in all its constituents. The body, mind and senses are then are permeated with this light. The person so blessed becomes truly a luminous expression of God. The spiritual radiance that goes out from him or her is cool like the rays of the moon, and it elevates and heals the mentally diseased souls who come in contact with him. God reveals himself in all his splendor in the heart of such a great one. How does a person attain to this transcendent light and joy? The one and the only way is self-surrender, born of complete absence of egoism. By this alone, the divine power and glory are made manifest in a human being. The heart is really a temple of God when one recognizes this and is aware of it. A person reveals his or her inner power and glory when the intellect is illumined with the light of God. The heart responds to the eternal symphony of love. The physical body pours out spontaneously energy, translating itself into divine action. The person is now no longer egoistic in his or her outlook and activity, but is vibrant instrument of the divine, living and moving for the uplift and welfare of the world. The influence such a person casts over humanity and all creation is wonderful. That means when the inner light is realized, that individual no longer thinks in terms of the individual. That individual no longer talks in terms of individual. That individual no longer does in terms of individual. That is the benchmark, litmus test. Then the inner light is lit there. God is light and joy. God is love and wisdom. God is the supreme power that controls all the world. Such a God dwells in the hearts of us all. To realize Him is the supreme purpose and goal of life. All else is of no importance or avail. God is a reality. He is our intimate friend. It is by constant association with Him that we experience our oneness with Him. We start to reach Him as separate from Him. But ultimately the fusion between us and Him becomes so complete that duality disappears. We stand revealed as He Himself. Confusing diversity then gives place to absolute unity. Absence of otherness. Fullness, contentment, so many things. So long as we feel apart from Him, our life is beset with many an obstruction and we are subject to all kinds of cramping and unhappy vicissitudes. But when life is released from the bondage of its own making, manifesting its inherent spiritual power, light and grace, then it comes to its own and enjoys everlasting peace and bliss. The life becomes a light to itself and to all others. It is self-revealed and the magnificence of it is past thought and expression. Beyond thought and expression. May such a light spread all over the world. May humanity be blessed with the vision of it and love and harmony prevail on the earth. This is the first article of Prabhupada, Light of Lights. Just like it was mentioned earlier, everyone can feel the light when we sit on a new moon day at 12 o'clock with no lights in the pitch dark. How do we know we are there? How do we know that we are there? That question we ask. Suddenly we become aware of the light within. Who makes me aware of myself? Beloved Papa answers again. Devotee, if there is no worry about the future, there is no need to feel secure also, is it not? When the future is with Him, insecurity will not be there. Papa, the sense of security is a state of consciousness, of spontaneous feeling, not merely an intellectual acceptance. It is like the state of a child, secure and blissful in the presence of the mother. The child does not deliberate or think in that way, but automatically has a consciousness of it. So also, in the presence of the Divine Mother, Ramdas feels secure and blissful as he lives, moves and has his whole being in her. The Divine Presence is so real to him. In that presence, even wild beasts become tame. Serpents came to him, but did no harm to him in any way. He freely moved about in forests, yet never did a wild animal attack him. God's presence was felt everywhere by him, and so the wild animals that came to him became tame and harmless. You are afraid only because you see another and feel you are different from him. This is due to your sense of duality, which is the cause of fear, dislike, hate and other evils, and therefore of misery and bondage. When you feel one with all lives, Vishwabuddhi, it is all joy to you. Where is fear then? In the thick forests of the Himalayas, the saints who live there make fire to keep away cold and sit round in it in meditation. Wild beasts of the forest also come and join them, but do no harm. They all sit together like friends. So long as these animals are in the company of saints, they do not even fight with one another or harm the saints, for there is in the latter no sense of separateness. Devotee, how to reach that stage? Papa, when our life is pure and attuned to nature, the expression of God, there is in us no fear or hate. Thus, by continuous awareness of our real life and being, we realize that we are one with God, the all-pervading eternal Spirit. Let us remember who we are. We have forgotten our true self, which is God. Tattvamasi, that thou art, says the Veda. So let us think of God, meditate on Him, and be awakened to the consciousness of Him. We will then transcend the body idea, which is the cause of all ignorance and misery. Self and God are one. We must accept this as the central truth. We can see Him, provided we are sufficiently pure. Blessed are the pure heart, because they shall see God. By remembrance of God alone can we purify our minds. Darkness can be removed only by light. There is no other way. By constant thought of purity, our heart becomes pure. God is all purity. Constant remembrance of Him will free us from lust, greed and wrath. Then the light which is already within us will shine out, permeate our whole being. This is the inner light in every one of us. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Your own self is Brahman. That is the essence of Vedanta. God is not far away. He is nearer to us than our very breath. For He pervades everywhere. If you only meditate on Him, surrender yourself to Him, you will realize your oneness with Him and know that you and He are one. He is not like the light of the fire or sun or star. He is the light of lights, the eternal light, the source of all mundane lights. We must be like innocent children. See how pure and free they are. They have no dislike or hate. They see everybody alike. If we attain the innocence of a child, God is ours. Nay, we become then the very embodiment of God. When we keep on hearing about the indwelling reality, when Papa keeps on telling that when you are chanting the name, you are chanting the name of your own self, we have to reflect, sufficiently. What prevents us from reflecting our sense of individuality which separates us from Him? And most of our time we are spending with the externals. So for the past few weeks, Papa has been trying to identify the God dimension and everything so that we can take a U-turn and then intensely go try within. And these words of Papa, the light of lights and the present clarification from him will throw more light on it. Now let us see what Mataji says. The whole universe is full of light. There is no darkness anywhere. Everywhere is He only. They are not merely an individual. Thou art not merely an individual, but thou art the truth which is universal. The dazzling light of truth is thy true being. Thy existence is beyond compare. Thy existence covers, absorbs, includes all. Thou dwelleth everywhere because thou pervades all things animate and inanimate. Human life is a magnificent gift of God. Raise it, elevate it beyond the range of mental conceptions. Lift it beyond the relative. Lift it beyond the relative, conditioned and fettered entanglements of the ever-changing phenomenal life, so that it might know itself as the ever-free, ever-blissful, ever-existent reality. That means always, Mataji says, seeing only light everywhere, awareness everywhere. Every form is a spark of that light. And she brings it, that can come only when we universalize our vision. From the individual to the universal. From the me to the we and we to him. From the micro to macro. Let us hear what Pujya Swamiji says. Any object in the world becomes visible when it is illumined by the light from the sun, the moon, the fire, the lamp, and so on. But these luminous things, by whose light objects in the world are seen, are not self-luminous.
Atma Bodha.
They are themselves illumined by the light from the self-effulgent God. Had it not been all-pervasive, the sun and the moon, as well as the objects in the world, would have remained invisible, steeped in impenetrable darkness. Similarly, all the objects in the world are inert. It is the senses which know them. The senses are enlightened by the mind, which in its turn is illumined by the intellect. But even the intellect has no self-awareness because it is also inert. Knowledge flows into the intellect from God, who is the self of all, who is the self in all. That's why he is called Satchit Anand. Chit, Chit means that light, knowledge. Therefore, the conclusion is that all awareness and knowledge stream from God. Had there not been the eternal presence of God in the universe, none would have known anything in it. The entire universe would have remained as a huge mass of ignorance. Similarly, God is the support of all things and objects of the universe. All the objects have the earth for their support, and the earth is supported by water, which is sustained by the fire principle. The fire is supported by the air, which is supported by the sky or space. The space has its basis in the ego principle, which again is grounded in the cosmic intelligence. The cosmic intelligence of Mahat is supported by nature or the unmanifest, which is supported by God, who is the ground and support of all. Through 5 elements, Swamiji is now taking us in. He is the substratum on which all these objects and entities of the universe exist and go about doing the function allotted to them. Without him, these entities cannot have any existence at all. Microcosmically, all the sense objects like sound, touch, taste, etc. depend upon the senses, senses on the mind, mind on the intellect, intellect on the embodied soul, and the soul on the ultimate support for all, God. These organs live and function because they have God for their final and supreme support. On the light of lights, our scriptures have come out with inspiring and thought-provoking shlokas, a few of which are given below. Shloka from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Om Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor ma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That which is mortal can never become immortal. That which is immortal can never become mortal. There can be no change of nature, but we can move from our outer mortal nature to our inner immortal nature, which requires a radical shift of perception, a turning within, a transformative change of vision. The Atman, our true self, is the inner light and energy that links us with the entire universe. We reach it through developing our buddhi or higher intelligence, cultivating a discernment between being and non-being, light and darkness, eternal and transient. May each person enkindle the inner flame of awareness by looking deeply within to our original nature of boundless self-illumination and bliss. May there be peace unto all. Shloka from Kathopanishad, as explained by Swami Ranganathanji. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, niyama vidyuto bhanti, kutoyam agnihi, tameva bhantam, anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. There the sun cannot illumine, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor the lightning, and what to speak of the fire in your house. The Atman shines, and these things shine after it. By its light, the whole universe is lighted. Tasya bhasa, by its light, idam sarvam, the whole manifested universe, vibhati, is lighted. The sun is the source of light to us, but that sun itself is a product of the light of Atman. Light of the Atman coming through the sun, coming through every source of light. The only thing that is endowed with the light as its own nature is pure consciousness. Everything else is purely a physical entity, dull, dead entity. So all light is the product of the Atman, which is of the nature of pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is also light. It can illumine itself, it can illumine physical things as well. Shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. Jyotisham avidad jyosi tamasa paramuchate jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam kriti sarvasya vishta. This is the light, even among all lights, and it has been spoken of as beyond darkness. It is knowledge, that which is to be known, and the goal of knowledge. It specially resides in the hearts of all. Sri Krishna says that the eternal essence is the light among all the lights. The word light in the Vedas refers to awareness, to knowledge, which means that ultimately it is the eternal essence that provides the power of awareness, the power to know all beings. Without the eternal essence, we would have no awareness, no sentience. In other words, the eternal essence gives awareness to the intellect, which gives it to the mind and then to the senses. But the mind, intellect and senses cannot immediately contact the eternal essence. Now, just like the word light refers to knowledge, the word darkness refers to ignorance. By saying that the eternal essence is beyond ignorance, Sri Krishna points out the uniqueness of the awareness aspect of the eternal essence. If we light a lamp in a dark room, it dispels the darkness. O King, for it is the sun alone that is the source of all light, and it is for this light that man sits, moves about, does all work and returns. That is right, O venerable sage, but when the sun has set, what is it that helps man as light? The moon. It is the moon that is the light of the man when the sun is not there, was the reply of Yajnavalkya. All right, I agree, but when the sun is not there, the moon is also not there, then what is it that guides man as his light? Thus asked Janaka again. Then Rishi Yajnavalkya replied, when the sun has set and the moon is not there, fire is our light, for by that we sit, we work, go out, come back. I am all in agreement with you, said Janaka. Continued asking, but what then is the light where there is no sun, no moon, no fire? Speech indeed is the light, when all these are absent. Even though we cannot see our hand in the dark, we can hear the voice and move towards the sound. Janaka was happy, but had still one more question. He asked our revered sage, when the sun sets, moon is not there, fire is absent, there is no speech, then what is the light? The self indeed is our light, O King, for by that we sit, move, work, go out and come back. Janaka was deeply touched by this, but wanted to know from Yajnavalkya more about the self that he referred to as the light of lights, to which the sage replied, the self is the pure awareness that shines as the light within the heart, surrounded by the senses. It is that self that is one with the soul reality, the Brahman. This self is free from desire, free from evil, free from fear. The man who, in union with the self, sees without seeing, smells without smelling, tastes without tasting, speaks without speaking, hears without hearing, touches without touching, thinks without thinking, knows without knowing, for there is nothing separate from him. This state of not having another is state of unity, one without a second, and that is the world of Brahman. That is the supreme goal of life, the supreme treasure, the supreme joy. When we hear the last portion, suddenly we can understand our connect up. When Papa said, world is God. There is no otherness. We are finding it difficult to associate because we have in our mind a concept called God, and that we are trying to paste on that object or person or situation. We are not accepting it as God. Think about it. This is what He brings it. The beautiful word. Unless we do reflection, it's very difficult. Sees without seeing, smells without smelling, tastes without tasting, speaks without speaking, hears without hearing, touches without touching, thinks without thinking, knows without knowing, for there is nothing separate from Him. This state of not having another is the state of unity, one without a second, and that is the world of Brahman. This is the supreme goal of life, the supreme treasure, the supreme joy. Intuition by Papa. Intuition is the working of the inner being of man when he has tuned his life with the universal and all-transcendental existence. When intuition really works, the egoistic sense of man is completely absent, and the experience of such a man is of a consciousness which is above the body idea. To rise above the notion of the body does not mean the stock stillness of the physical members, but the performance of all their actions in a state of perfect self-effacement and therefore of spontaneity. Spontaneity. That's why it is always called childlike. No thought process. Spontaneity. Intuition works through spontaneity, not impulsively. And here it will be free from the individual sense. Intuition does not work always in consonance with the views and opinions, or swayed by the criticisms and oppositions of the world. The external form of work, which the intuition takes directly, flows out from the omnipotent power that causes the birth, the growth, the dissolution of the phenomenal life. If one could at all distinguish the works of intuition from those emanating from an individualistic sense, it is possible only through their results. While the former, being of a selfless nature, tends inevitably to benefit and delight of others, the latter being born of a personal ambition or for personal gratification, it causes loss and miseries to others. So intuition is the product of complete self-surrender, and its work is in its inherent nature beneficial to all. We hear of saints and sages receiving unspoken messages from the great Master of the universe as to the conduct of their lives. Their intimacy and communion with the great guide is so perfect that they carry out works in the world without favor or prejudice, without caring for praise or blame, but only in fulfillment of their life's mission as set by the divine guide. In the field of spirituality, intuition is spoken of as the inner voice. When the soul has fallen under the spell of the immortal voice, he realizes his ever-free, blissful existence. Thereafter, the individual lives and moves in the consciousness of God. In all states, he now feels he is utterly liberated and inexplicably happy. There are a few more. Tomorrow we will cover it. It has been a subjective subject, but we should try to link it with what we are now on the process. Papa was elaborately talking about the light of lights, inherent light, inner light. First he brought the Nirvana Shadgam, where he wanted to divert our whole attention on the inherent, indwelling reality. Many of you know that even while he took to chanting of the holy and powerful Rama Mantra, side by side, this is his word, he was reflecting on the inner reality, the indwelling reality, and the all-pervading reality. So both were going side by side. And that is why he was able to, the moment he came out of it, he did not see anything else but the revelation of that reality. So first he took us this Shadgam, Nirvana Shadgam, by which the non-identification process was set in to prepare ourselves to have some glimpse intellectually about the inner reality. Then he took up one by one the inner light. When we have turned inside, then what is that? Then ultimately, he made us to understand now intellectually that it is pure consciousness. In the sense of individuality, he is working under it. At the moment, we are all devotees or aspirants, completely under the control of sense of individuality. So we are now trying to understand our super boss, who is seated within, without whom we cannot even exist, with whom we can exist. He has allowed us to exist as sense of individuality. Without him, no. So he sets us on a process. When we go inward, we try to find him, his presence as the light of all lights, as pure consciousness. When we open our eyes, we see every object, every person, every situation has the form. The last dialogue, puts a seal to it, so that we don't have to negate anything. Though we started with negating, apparently negating, for the sake of sadhana, for the sake of developing the needed concentration, that was only needed for that particular purpose. And once it is achieved, the whole world, whole manifestation at once reveals itself as that. That finally, he says there is nothing separate. He becomes one. Today itself you can see the whole thing has been put on a chronological order by him. Intense thinking should be there. It is not contradictory, it is not paradoxical. It is all complementary, supplementary. Mahatmas, whenever they talk, suppose we try to view it from this angle, it gives clarity to our own path. Otherwise, at the superficial level, if we think, it may look contradictory. I find him everywhere, and finally the Nirvana Shadgam comes, And at the end of this, Yajnavalkya's, the final dialogue, Papa used to mention it, but we never knew that there was a dialogue. I will just read out that particular portion. The self is the pure awareness that shines as the light within the heart, surrounded by the senses. Surrounded by the senses. It is the senses that decides the whole thing, labels. It is the self that is one with the soul reality, the Brahman. The self is free from desire, from evil, from fear. The man who, in union with the self, that means senses are not there, sees without seeing. There is no subject object. smells without smelling, tastes without tasting, speaks without speaking, hears without hearing, touches without touching, thinks without thinking, knows without knowing. For there is nothing separate from him.
In a very simple way, another way, all these things, no mind.
There are no senses without.
Mindless thing only, no mind.
So there is absolutely, that is the stage we have to reach. Like he gives us clarity, you know. When we see the objects, trees, persons, situations, we become one with it. So far we have been trying to paste our concept of God on that particular object, unknowingly. So this gives us clarity. When I find him everywhere, Papa could find him everywhere, not as a tree, not as hills or dales, not as school, not as market, not as akshara, not as car or aeroplane or whatever he says, you know. But he saw it as.
I can be there, it's one with everything.
Think. This is something in a food for thought, reflection.
No other than Bhagavan.
No other.
No other than, no other. What?
So today, though he took a PhD class, we are sure it will be an aid to what he has been taking so far. So that, apparently, it was a different diversion, but it is not a diversion. It is probably to improve our quality of understanding, improve our giving a new relationship to the objects other than us. He brought in all these things. Let us try to ponder deeply. And one thing is sure, he is not leaving us. He is holding our hand. Whatever is needed at that particular time, he feeds, he guides, he takes us. Let us all go down and then always pray to him. Make us aware of your guidance, your presence. We normally feel that we have forgotten you. Now we know that you are there. It's only a feeling of forgetfulness. Actually, you don't leave us. So let us all try to become aware of his presence and guidance, for which we, as a separate individual, we need his grace. Hari Om.